Hello, Timothy. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm excited to be here.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Timothy, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Timothy, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of
Mhm,
months back, I was on a particular road, and just
mhm,
by the roadside, Timothy, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Timothy, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me.
mhm.
Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, Timothy. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a beautiful experience that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Timothy that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from
Mhm.
me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your
Mhm.
insight, the impact your work is having, and how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, my man, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Timothy's doing, and not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Timothy. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, man. I like the work that you're doing and how you're helping people.
Beautiful. I like what you're doing too. It's very inspiring, like I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Timothy, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order
Mhm,
for one to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, my man, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Timothy,
mhm,
ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason
mhm,
why I'm excited to have the incredible Timothy on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in
mhm.
an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information of which I am
Mhm.
totally convinced, my man, that our conversations can be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, Timothy, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Timothy
Mhm.
got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Timothy, my man, over to you.
So my name's Tim Wienecke. I'm a licensed mental health practitioner out here in Colorado. My background is I was in the Air Force for 5 years, and that's when I got involved in doing interpersonal violence work, trying to stop sexual assault and different forms of abuse. I took that knowledge, went into grad school, and became a counselor. During that time, I ran veteran transition programs for guys coming out into college and continued my work on interpersonal violence. And so, between the Air Force and all that work, I've got about over a dozen different allyship awards from different communities on the help I've been providing. And I transitioned after grad school into primarily working with men, veterans, and first responders. And it's been a wonderful transition for the last 10 years of getting to help guys be better in the world, getting guys to acknowledge how the world has hurt them, and moving things forward from the level of men needing resources and that knowledge you were so powerfully talking about on how to take that chaos, make sense of it, and move forward in a way that you want to move.
And that's so beautiful, I tell you. And that alone is creating like this great, or should I say, greater impact. Because when guys now get to live upright and understand who they are on a deeper level, like what you're teaching, and there is this change that we'll begin to see in the society. Because many terrible and evil folks out there, many of these guys are victims of poor fatherhood. You know, their dads weren't there for them. Their dad doesn't even understand how to function as dad. So that's why I say what you're doing is creating great impact. And thank you so very much for doing it. So there's this
Yeah.
particular one I'm curious about, all right? What is the difference between masculinity and manhood?
So masculinity is all it means is these traits tend to be held by men. So when we talk about masculine traits, we're talking about it like we're talking about men are taller than women, right? I think everybody knows that at 6'1", if I walk into the WNBA, I'm the short person in the room, right? We get that. But out in the world, 6'1" is much taller than most women. And so most guys will relate to a significant portion of the traits, but not all of them. And most women will have a masculine trait or two in their world, in their life, and in themselves. That's all that that means. And by transitioning our idea of a man has to be this to men tend to have these traits, it gives us the freedom to be who we are in our skin and to express our gender as makes sense for us. And so being a man is something that our culture and ourselves determine for us. So manhood is something that can be taken away and something that has to be earned. Across almost all cultures in the world, there's usually some kind of moment in time where boys have to do something to prove that they're men. In most cultures in the world, for women, that's when they have their period. Essentially, you become a woman when you are able to have children. Since guys don't have a biological marker like that, we've come up with cultural keystones that help us do that. And the big problem with the modern world is we've lost those keystones. Like in America, there's not really an agreed upon moment where a boy becomes a man that everybody accepts. And that's also why we get so twitchy about whether we have all the masculine traits or not, because it can be taken away. If we're not seen as masculine in this environment, we might lose our status as a man, which is key to who we are. Like your gender touches every part of your life. And so it gets a little scary for guys when they're exploring those things and worrying about how they're being seen.
Wow. Wow. This is profound and very, very enlightening. Thank you for sharing that. So what about this one? How can men get to survive divorce without losing themselves?
Yeah, I think that's a really hard one. The most unhappy people in the country, in the US, are middle-aged divorcee guys. And the main reason for it is we have split labor of what a system does, where men are supposed to be providers, they're supposed to be out in the world working, and if they do that, they don't have to do anything else, which leads to a really brittle, unfulfilling life. And we put all of the social kind of duty and labor on women. And so when guys of my age get divorced and they lose that social support, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to connect. They don't know how to be in a community because most of the time that was done through their wives. And so the way to survive it and the way to hold on to yourself is to not isolate. It's where you find a church, a sport, a group, some form of connection, and accept that you're not going to be good at it. If you've been in kind of a classic relationship and your wife has been carrying the ball on that and she gets tired of things or you get tired of things and you lose the person doing that labor, understand it's going to be awkward for yourself. Understand that you reaching out to friends is going to feel awkward for a while as you learn how to do it. You showing up to a few different communities to try to find which one feels like the place for you. It's okay that it's awkward, but you have to force yourself out there. It's how we learn, right? You can't learn without failing. So you've got to be willing to fail in those moments to connect, and to connect with people that align with your values, whatever those are, that your values are valid and there are good people living to whatever your values are, doing good things in the world. I think the best way that men connect is through doing. The old adage, women bond face to face, meaning that they're more likely to call each other and just say, I miss you, where guys bond side to side. We need something to do together. It's why in the States, like going and throwing a ball with a little boy between a father is when they have their best conversations, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting out and finding your people and accepting that that's hard, that it takes effort, it takes time, and it takes a willingness to be uncomfortable is the way forward. Otherwise, you just end up trying to numb out at home. You wait for another woman to save you. And if you do that, you're going to fall into the same pattern that your first marriage ended in. If you're putting all that labor on one member, they're going to get tired of holding that for you. You're a grown up, you're an adult, you have efficacy, you need to make some different choices.
So true. And that part of, trying to lean on another woman to save them, I think that aspect is so common because many of the guys I've spoken to, they tend to live that way. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what about this one? If you could tell people one thing about mental health, what would that be?
That it's complicated. So one of the things in the states has been really interesting is that mental health is now within the culture, right? In white America, we don't necessarily go to priests anymore. We go to counselors. And so I've got 10 years of education. I'm a professor. I teach these concepts, diagnoses, patterns to students, and it's hard to learn. And now we have TikTok, where instead of stress, everybody's anxious. Stress is a natural part of life. Anxiety is when stress is running amok, but we don't know how to differentiate anymore because we're bringing clinical language into our experience to describe things as bad. So finding out and getting help, identifying, okay, so is this stress or is this anxiety? If it's stress, how am I handling it? How am I leveraging it to do better in my world? Or narcissism is really big right now and how the public is defining it. Have you noticed that there's no one that's just a jerk, that everybody's a narcissist? Sometimes people are just being a jerk. Sometimes people are being a little selfish, but narcissism is a specific diagnosis and a specific way a brain is organized that's really destructive for them and the people around them. But if you're an adult and you've never found yourself doing the wrong thing in a selfish moment with somebody you care about, you're not paying attention. And so acknowledging the scope and breadth and the nuance of how we engage with each other is so important. Instead of taking these concepts from clinical individual work and then using those frames out into the world without not deep knowledge of the person you're talking to, it's destructive.
Very, very destructive. I got that. Okay, so we have two more questions to go. So what are men really struggling with right now?
Well, there's a few things. The first one is isolation. Men have gotten pretty bad at connecting, and younger guys are starting to catch up with those middle-aged guys on that isolation aspect, where more and more young men can't name a best friend, where more and more young men where more young men can't name a best friend, that they can't connect socially in community. And in a large part of that is because we're using online connections to fill the void of community connection. And the problem with that is online can self-filter down to every single thing you care about. You can find a group of 20 people that care about almost everything that you care about. But that's not how community works. Right? If I go to a food bank and I'm working there, everybody that's working there cares about feeding people. But we probably vote very differently. We probably engage our worlds differently, but in this moment, in this piece of community, we're all in agreement that this is what we should be doing. And that's how we connect with neighbors. And by these really filtered areas, like I go into this Discord, or I go into this chat, and everybody is like me, it makes us incredibly brittle and isolated. The other thing that's happening with the younger guys is Me Too is needed, and it's been impactful and powerful, and it's done good things for men as well. And it's overcompensated, where now a creepy comment, showing up in a way that is uncomfortable, is treated the same way that we treat somebody without power for an assault. And that's making guys terrified to try. So we're seeing more and more, like in my practice, I see more and more guys in their early 20s that have never had a girlfriend or a boyfriend, that have never been on a date, that have never had sex. And the problem is, and the reason why it's so gendered is, women can date older. Those young women, if they want those relationships, they're going after guys that are 10 years older. And those guys that are 10 years older are more than happy to fill that void, right? And that's leaving these younger guys with this terrible fear. And the more time that goes by without them getting that date, without them getting in front of somebody, without them having that experience, it validates that they're not going to be good at this, that people aren't going to want them. Guys need the safety to fail. Guys need the space in the world, in the community, to go out and try to connect and understand that it's going to go badly while you learn how. And those two things are probably the biggest culminating points for guys, is this isolation and malaise that most men have right now.
Isolation. I got that. So what then is the most effective way we can show up for men and boys today?
So one, if you're a single mother, that's great. You can be a beautiful, wonderful parent as a single mother, but you need your kids to be around men. And that classically what we always used to treat that was, is you have to find the next guy to come into your household. All of the data says that isn't true. Men need to be around other men. That can be coaches, it can be teachers, it can be church members, just good men around that care about your kids. They don't have to be romantically involved with you to do that, which is also helpful when you think about an estranged father living outside of the home. He can still be a dad. He can still show up. He can still be there for those kids without living there. That's one. We need more men modeling healthy, caring masculinity around children, period. Two, men need to be willing to fail. Men need to be willing to stretch themselves, to go back into communities, to go find spaces that are masculine, that are doing good things, right? Not these like men's groups that just hate women or blaming them for everything, but guys that are trying to make a little bit of a difference in the world. Get together with a group of guys that's trying to do a food bank, that's trying to do a fun run for something. This is why gyms and martial arts dojos are so important, because it's where guys go to connect with other guys. We need those connections, but also we need to be in places where everybody is, right? And for forever, it used to be churches. That's not really necessarily going to be what it's going to be now. Maybe it's a political organization. Maybe it's a neighborhood watch. It doesn't matter, but be around your neighbors and be around people that don't agree with you, and have conversations around the things you agree on, and the way that we can connect as communities and come back together a little bit. That's the only way we're going to get on the other side of this isolation.
I got that. And that's a profound one. So to bring this to an end, my man, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
So I'll give you a tree link that links my website for my practice, my podcast, and the education I do. If you just want to remember a website for me, it's AmericanMasculinity.com. We're doing a podcast. We've been at it for about 3 months, so we're nowhere as near as polished and good as you are at this yet. But we're having really wonderful conversations with people that are intentional, nuanced, and backed up by data around what's happening with men in the country and what we might do about that. And if you're in Colorado and you're looking for a therapist and you like the way that I'm talking, please reach out. If I can't take you on, I'm happy to help you find another counselor that's going to work, even if it's not me.
That's a smart one, and I love that. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot, Timothy. Thank you.
Hey, man. Thanks for bringing all you do into the world.
That was